What's going on, everybody? Ronnie DiMaggio here, product specialist at BMW of Morristown. And in today's video, we are doing a quick spec check with this absolutely beautiful 2024 Alpina XB7. So in these shorter spec check videos, we are just talking about the spec. These videos are intended to show off the options and the different configuration decisions that were made when this XB7 was ordered, how it came to be, and all of the different things that go into the spec, the options, the color, the wheels, the trim, all that stuff. We're going to showcase that on this car because it was done absolutely beautifully. In my opinion, this is the best way that you can spec an XB7 without going into individual and some crazy special customizations. Out of the standard BMW color and option choices, I think this is as good as it gets. Like I said, we'll talk about the spec, and if you would like a more thorough, in-depth overview and walk around with an XB7, we already did that. And I will link to that video in a little pop-out card here in the top right corner of your play screen. So if you want to see that, check that out. But for now, stick around to get a thorough walkthrough on the spec and the options with this beautiful XB7. We'll get started on the outside. All right, so starting off on the outside of this XB7, the first thing that's going to jump out to you is this paint color. So this is Alpina Blue Metallic. It is an Alpina specific paint color, and for 2024, it is the only Alpina specific color that the XB7 can be ordered with. It's the only color that you can order this car that says Alpina in the name, so obviously that makes it the choice to go to for an XB7, and it is an absolutely stunning color. So to me, when I first saw this car in our showroom this morning, the first thing that jumped to my mind was, oh, that's an Astora Blue X7. That's really unusual that we custom ordered an Astora Blue XB7. I don't even think you can do Astora Blue through BMW individual. It's not on the visualizer, so I was really perplexed. Then I got closer and saw it is, of course, Alpina Blue Metallic, obviously, but I say that to sort of emphasize that if you're familiar with Astora Blue, it's a color that if you're a BMW enthusiast, I'm sure you've seen on the road. Plenty of M Sport F30s were Astora Blue. We saw it a lot on the E36 as well, so Astora Blue has been a fairly common color on BMWs in the past. It's a very special color, but it's one that you're probably familiar with, and if you want to gauge on what Alpina Blue Metallic looks like, think of Astora Blue, but a tiny bit darker and a tiny bit more purple. It is not identical to Astora Blue, but very, very close. The metallic flake in it really reminds me of Astora Blue, and when it's in the sun, it's a lot like Astora Blue, just a little dark, a little more purple. So really beautiful color, and it's especially great to order an XB7 with this color because you can only get this color on an XB7, at least for right now. So it's definitely the most special color that you can order this car with, so really glad that this one was ordered that way. If you don't like these brighter, sort of louder colors, especially on a big car like this, so this is a lot of bright blue, you can, of course, option an XB7 with colors like skyscraper gray, black sapphire, white, some more subdued, less bold color choices if that is your preference, but that's the color. Let's talk a little bit about the trim on the car. So one of only a few options that you can choose on the XB7 is whether or not you want Shadowline trim. So the big difference there is those side sort of accent pieces on the either side of the car that go from the front to the back wheels above the side skirt. Those are black on Shadowline cars. If you don't get Shadowline, those will be chrome. Both look really nice, but I think the black complements the spec on this car particularly well. Another option on this car that's really cool is these 23-inch Alpina wheels. So these are, of course, the wheels to get with an Alpina. They have made a name for themselves and become famous for these really awesome and really large multi-spoke wheel designs, and of course this car is equipped with that. Now, not all Alpinas come with these wheels. In fact, a lot of them don't actually, especially in the Northeast in New Jersey where we live. So you can option, these are 23s, you can option a 21-inch wheel on the XB7, and with the 21 you can get an all-season or a performance run flat, whereas on the 23s you can only get a performance non-run flat. So the 23s are not for the faint of heart. They're definitely delicate. It's a really narrow tire, a really big wheel, and it's not a run flat. So if you plan to really use your car every day, an Alpina XB7 in the Northeast in New Jersey, where our roads are less than ideal, maybe the 21s are a better option. They still look great, but the 23s, if you want to just go full Alpina, get the coolest spec you can, 23s are definitely the way to go, and they look really nice on this car, especially in this anthracite color paired to Alpina Blue. Another thing that looks really nice while we're in this area with the XB7 are these crystal headlights. So That is not an option. All XB7s come with that. That is standard fare for Alpina XB7s, but I just like to point it out because it looks really, really nice. And speaking of standard features and whether or not something comes with the XB7, we'll talk about this more as we move around the car and inside, but there's really not a ton of options with the XB7. You get a choice of paint, wheel, shadowline or not shadowline, tow hitch, interior color, interior trim, captain's chairs, Bowers & Wilkins, and anthracite or Alcantara headliner. Those are your options. There's not a ton to choose on the XB7. Being such a top tier flagship luxury car, everything is standard, which is really good that BMW does it that way. But the crystal headlights are not an option, but they look really nice, so I like to point them out anyways. You see in these B-roll clips, they have a nice sort of geometric shape to them. They're sort of look like they're shimmering when the sunlight hits them. Really nice. They're really beautiful headlights. So that's the front, the color, the wheels and stuff. Let's move around out back and talk about some options back there. All right, so around back with the XB7, not a ton of options to talk about as far as the spec goes. Obviously, you can still see the paint back here, but the only thing I want to point out in the back is that this one is equipped with a trailer hitch. As you can see, you have towing capability with this particular XB7. Not a ton of these are spec'd with the trailer hitch, but this one is, and I think that's really cool because it sort of adds to the actual usability of this car as an SUV. It's an ultra luxury, super cool SUV, really limited, really special BMW. However, still having that tow hitch available just makes it a little bit cooler if you actually hook up a trailer and tow something with the XB7. You're using it for what it is. You're not preserving it, not babying it by any means. You're actually using it as an SUV, which I think is really cool with these sorts of cars. So the tow hitch is nice, adds a little bit of versatility as well. So that is one of the few options that you have a choice of with the XB7, and this one has it. With that said, let's move along to the interior. All right, inside of the XB7, we have just a few options to talk about. Namely, that is the interior color. So this particular XB7 is finished in ivory white with Atlas gray accents. I think it looks really nice, and Atlas gray has very light tinges of blue to it, which obviously pairs really nicely with both the Alpina Blue gauge cluster as well as the Alpina Blue Metallic exterior paint. So you have the Atlas with the ivory white with Atlas gray. You have piano black, which is an Alpina specific option. You have the Alpina piano black trim. There are some other Alpina specific options for the interior. There's a lot of really beautiful wood options that are available for the XB7. You have that sort of walnut, orangey, reddish wood. You have the different lighter color woods, like those beige, sort of sandy colored woods, which look really nice. But lots of different elegant wood options that are available in the Alpina XB7, but not in regular X7s. So that's cool to see, but I think the piano black, again, goes really nicely with both the Atlas gray and ivory white interior, as well as the Alpina Blue Metallic exterior. So the interior color combination that's going on here, I think, is done really nicely. Another really cool thing about the interior of the XB7 is the headliner. So this car has the Alcantara headliner. That is one of the few options that's available for XB7, and it is a no-cost option. And for that reason, and for the reason that it looks really cool, especially in this ivory white, I think it's a no-brainer. Absolutely go for the Alcantara headliner. Considering it's a no-cost option and considering it's really, really nice looking, definitely adds to the luxury feel of the XB7. I say 100% go for the Alcantara headliner. Another option that does have a cost associated with it is the Bowers & Wilkins sound system. So as standard, Alpina XB7s come with a really nice Harman Kardon sound system. However, if you want to go a step further, you do have Bowers & Wilkins available, and it sounds absolutely incredible. Really fantastic sound system, and I think having a really nice sound system is a big part of a luxury car. Every time I get into a car like an XB7 or a 7 Series, I expect the sound system to be really good, and the Bowers & Wilkins definitely delivers on that front. So sound system's really, really nice. Another no-cost option in the XB7 is the second row captain's chair. So you can choose between a bench seat and a set of captain's chairs at no cost to you. This particular one is equipped with the captain's chairs, continuing the theme of every box in the options list checked for this car. So it does have the captain's chairs, and I think, again, for the XB7, that does add to the sort of executive ambiance in the back seat. This is not a chauffeur car per se, like some 7 Series can be optioned to really sort of emphasize that chauffeur aspect. This car's not really like that. The back seat's not insanely spacious. It's definitely really nice and really comfortable back there, but the captain's chairs sort of add to that, like I said, executive feel in the back. And I know when I was a kid, I really liked captain's chairs, and so I think if it's a family car, Captain's chairs are cool just because kids tend to like sitting in their own dedicated seat, although if you do need the third row or the second row bench just for outright seating capacity, obviously that's the way to go. But if you can afford to sacrifice that one seat, I do think Captain's chairs is sort of the way to go. Other than those couple things, like I said, everything that you want is standard for an XB7. So you have the crystal controls, you have the heads-up display, you have Drive Assist Pro, you have the Sky Lounge LED lights in your sunroof. So you have all of those nice luxury features that you would expect out of a nicely equipped X7 as standard here in the XB7. So that is to say that this car is incredibly well equipped. It has every little feature, every little gadget, every little option you could possibly want. This is the top of the line X7, and like I said, when this car was ordered, we went through the options list and just checked everything off, said, I want every option, and that's what you get. When you do that, you get this car. So that is going to do it for the inside of this XB7. Really, really beautiful place to be. Like I said, if you want more in-depth details and impressions on the interior of the XB7, what it's like to sit in it, how the tech works, stuff like that, do check out our full-length XB7 tour. But as far as the spec goes, that does it for this one. It's the ivory white with Atlas gray, piano black trim, Alcantara headliner, Bowers & Wilkins, and Captain's chairs for the inside. That'll do it for the inside. Let's hop outside and wrap up with our final thoughts. Alright, so that's going to do it for this quick spec check on this 2024 Alpina XB7. So, like I said in the beginning of the video, this is just about the best way that you could possibly spec an XB7. It has the Alpina specific color, it has one of the full merino leather options on the interior, and then it has every single box check: Bowers & Wilkins, Alcantara headliner, Captain's chairs, the tow hitch. It's got everything you could possibly want on an XB7 in a really gorgeous and really nicely thought out color schemes. That'll do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at BMW of Morristown, and of course subscribe to the channel here on YouTube and like this video if you liked it. But that'll do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.